I just wanted to take a second and go over different types of graphs that you can make in Excel. So this isn't Excel Online. This is actually the installed version of Excel on my laptop. Usually when I see data like this where I have numbers in both columns, I would probably make a scatter plot with that data. So I would insert a scatter plot. This is not creating a perfect straight line. You can see it's a little bit bumpy. When you right click or control click, you can add a trend line. So you might remember that from grade 9 math where that's called a line of best fit. You could change the title to measuring bounce height or something like that. You can also add, whoops, when I click on here, I can add a chart element, which I could use axis titles. So usually the ball drop height would be, that's what's on my x-axis. And I can add a chart element, axis title, a vertical axis title, and that could be my bounce height. So usually whatever you come to first gets put onto the x-axis or the horizontal axis, and whatever is next is this is the dependent variable, it goes on the y-axis. So another thing you can see is you can make pretty cool looking graphs. There's different choices and you can make it look however you want, but I just want to make sure throughout this course that we practice, because this is just a good skill for you to have in any course that you're taking. So then what I see over here, I don't have numbers in both columns. So this was a scatter plot and a trend line or a line of best fit. When I see this data, these are discrete pieces of data. So these are not numerical, these are just the lists of different countries. This is what I would probably create. I would probably make a bar graph from this data. So when I select everything there and I can insert a bar graph. So this is going to sound a little bit picky, but when I create a bar graph, I'm loving these titles down here. They all were put on automatically in Excel, but when it's a bar graph, these bars should be distinct. They should not be touching. They should be separated with a space in between them. So even if you create a bar graph yourself, these are just titles down here along the x-axis, it's best if the bars do not touch. And then this is how much garbage people are are creating per year in different countries. So again, I can add my vertical axis title. So basically, in my opinion, every single graph you do should have an x-axis label or titles, a y-axis label or titles, and then also a title on the graph that you're creating. When I see data like this down here, what I see, the number of hours playing video games, on the left here, I have a range of values from 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8. What this would look like on a graph is that you would see that it's a histogram. So there are different ways to create histograms. One important thing is in Excel, if I was going to type in, for example, 10 to 12, it gives me a date. So all of these along here have been edited so that it's not giving you a date. When you look up here, you can kind of see that I put an apostrophe before the 2 to 4. What that does, if I want to type in here 10 to 12, if I type apostrophe 10 to 12, this is like a little trick in Excel. What that does is it tells you, it tells Excel that you're just wanting to treat this as text. It's not, you don't want this to be a date. So when I type in a little apostrophe before my 8 to 10, I'm able to not have it convert it to a date, because if you remember, if I did 10 to 12 without the apostrophe, It's telling me that's October 12th. So I don't want that. A histogram means that the bars touch. And one way you might see that you think you can create a histogram is one of these options is histogram. So I've had lots of students try that because we want to make a histogram and they're like, okay, just click on histogram. But it doesn't actually do it correctly. What I want to see are 5 bars. These are the labels across the bottom, and this is the height of the bar up the side. So this is not the right type of graph. So what I would do is highlight my data. I would insert, I'm going to just insert a bar graph at first. My issue though, 0 to 2 and 2 to 4, these are supposed to be continuous. What that means is these bars should be touching. So what I can do is click on all of the bars and all of them get highlighted all at once. If I control click or right click, I can format the data series and the gap width, I can change it to 0. Oh, so there is my histogram. There's some other things you can do to play around with these. You can um, have a border that is a solid line that's maybe black. And then the fill color, you could change the fill color maybe to something a little bit lighter. And then you're able to see clearly um, the separation between the bars, but the bars are touching. Again, with this one, video games, number of children, I would definitely click on the graph and I would, chart design, add my axis titles, my vertical and horizontal axis title. So there are a few different graphs that I'd like you to know the difference between and maybe practice making these graphs in Excel because it's so much faster than doing it by hand.